Hello, everybody. How are we doing? I am excited, as always, to come on live and share some cool stuff with you guys. Today, we're going to be talking about off-market deals. One of my favorite subjects, favorite things to do. This is really what these things I'm going to be showing you really kind of skyrocketed my wholesale career, just real estate career, just in general. So yes, this is awesome stuff. I'm super excited, and we're gonna do some awesome stuff, guys, together. So I'm excited. So if you're watching this live, put in the comments right now. Put live, and the more lives, the better. So put in the comments lives, and then if you're watching on replay, put in the comments replay, and you can put as many replays as you want. All right, cool, guys. So let's dive right into it. This is important. We have a lot of information I want to try to cram into less than 60 minutes. Cats live, I love it. So I'm going to cram in a lot of information here in just a few moments, right? Or not a few moments, but trying to be within 60 minutes, right? So feel free to ask as many questions as humanly possible about the subject we're talking about, and those that stay till the end, I will actually have a treat for them, a surprise gift. That's probably a better way to put it. Which I will talk on the very end of the. So don't be trying to skip and forward. Just you have to watch the whole thing, okay? For you replay people. All right, guys. So I normally have a bunch of slides, but Facebook doesn't like to share screen and have the camera at the same time for some reason. But that's okay. We'll make do. So when you're doing off market deals, right? So off market deals, just to be clear, normally it's stuff that's not on the market. So they don't normally have a realtor involved. They're either thinking about selling or they have a need to sell in quickly, usually. And so that's when you can get those off-market transactions, which is really cool. I love being the only person that knows that a property is for sale. It makes the negotiation so much better. You can actually have a face-to-face conversation with that person. You can actually have, a connection where, I suppose, versus just like sending an offer in, like find out what their needs are. So you can really delve deep into the needs of the seller. And so you can give them, because like I may be guessing one thing if I see a deal in the market, and I just throw out an offer, and they may be needing something completely different, and so it's really beneficial to be able to go face to face and actually have those conversations, build that rapport, answer those objections directly. They're dealing with you, they build that trust, and they also give referrals. Every time I do a deal with someone, whether it's on market or off, I always try to get a testimonial video. It's just like, hey, after it's all said and done, like, can I jump on here, rely on Zoom, or we'll just do a selfie thing, and just tell me about your experience, how it was working with me. So those are very powerful if you use correctly. Okay, cool, guys. So off-market deals, there are so many different ways. Joey's on here. Appreciate you, bud. There's so many ways to find off-market deals. It all works as long as you do it. So there's a scale, and the scale is from. There's certain ways to find off-market deals that cost money, but it doesn't take a lot of your time. There's plenty of things where maybe it doesn't cost much money or zero, but it's going to take some sweat equity. You're going to have to put some work into it to actually do that. So there's kind of a scale as far as what things are, or what ways to find off-market deals and what it requires. So you want to think of what Ocean Point. That's okay. Yeah. And so you want to think of what where are you at on the scale? Like if you have a ton of money but maybe not a ton of time, okay, maybe you can do X, Y, and Z ways to find off-market deals. If you don't have any money at all but have some time, then this is what we can do. And I'll give you plenty of strategies. If you have no money and no time, there's still ways to find off-market deals. That's how I did it. I did it using the strategies of no money, no time. And obviously you have to put some time, but it's very, very minimum, which if you do it correctly. So that's some of the cool stuff we're gonna talk about. So think about, as I'm kind of going over some of these ideas and strategies, what's going to be the best fit for you in your current situation. And Kat, you're cracking me up. I love his stuff. And and what what the benefit for you and how it's gonna working for you guys. Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. We're gonna cruise through these guys. We're gonna cruise through them. So depending on the questions, I'll try to control my tangents that I tend to go on a lot of the time. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. So one way to find off market deals is talking to real estate agents. Believe it or not. So real estate agents, they're looking for listings, right? So there's something called a pocket listing. So this is where they through their own marketing, their due diligence, they went out there, they started talking to potential sellers, and then they're like, oh yeah, I do want to sell my house. Awesome, great. So the agents have a certain period of time before they actually have to put it on the MLS. And so a lot of times, if it's a property that needs some TLC, that it's an investor special, as you say, because there's a lot of agents out there, like if the home won't pass FHA requirements for financing, a lot of them won't even touch it because it's going to be harder to sell. And so it basically would either have to have conventional loan, sometimes not even that will work, and or an investor comes in paying cash. So a lot of these agents won't touch it, but what they'll do is, smart agents, they'll get the listing, and then they'll start talking to the people within their own brokerage. And I know I was an agent for a couple of years, and they'll start talking to their agent, to their own brokerage. Hey, I got investor special. Do you got anybody? And so they try to go within house because a lot of times they can get referral fees, or if they know someone, if an agent actually knows someone, like, oh yeah, Jared, this is a great deal for Jared, they'll call me up, and then they'll represent me and the seller, so they're going to get potentially 6% of commissions by giving me a pocket listing, by sending it to me before they put it even on the market. So there right now is a great time to work with agents. In fact, beforehand, like 2 years ago, just an idea of the market, what we're currently sitting at. 2 years ago, if someone would have sent me a deal that's on the market, I would have spent maybe 30 seconds on it and then like, okay, yeah, that's not, whatever, I don't want it. Now, like a good chunk of my deals, like almost probably 50%, have been on the market, which is kind of crazy to think about the shift of things happen. What happened is, in my humble opinion, I'm going a little tangent here, but the YouTube University Bros before, when 2 years ago, whenever you can fall ass backwards into a deal and make some money, right? You get a deal, and maybe if at the current numbers and everything, you would like break even, and you're just counting on appreciation. I literally wholesaled some deals, and it was a little tight, and I was like, you sure this makes sense for you? We're good? Oh yeah. I'm not gonna make any money, but in 3 months it's gonna appreciate, so that's my money I'm making. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's doesn't sound smart, but to each their own. So a lot of those guys, the YouTube University Bros, a lot of them gone because the deals aren't as easy as they think. So now people that are actually know how to create deals, they're sticking around. So now it's and agents are more open to have conversations about creative financing. If you look at my past lives, I did quite a few about creative financing and subject to. I'll probably do some more here shortly, so it's pretty cool. But agents are phenomenal. There are more agents in Utah than there are listings. So there are more people that have active licenses than there are houses for sale in this current market right now. So there's agents that are very hungry. And so here's something I want you to, and you reach out to agents, it's easy. You literally just Google Utah agents and you have 20 listings. You can just start going down a list. You can set a goal to call 5-10 a day and have a conversation with them. Here's something I want you to remember, that agents, if you're new at this and maybe a little nerve wracking, you're the prize. If you're planning to flip the house that they send to you, they're going to represent you on the buy and on the sell. And it's going to be more than like once every 10 years or 5 years when people switch houses and whatnot. It's going to be a couple times a year once you start going. So you are the prize. Remember that. As you're talking to them, you are the prize. And as far as agents go, I mean, you want to find some good ones that are going to help you find these deals. So not all agents are held equally. There's some phenomenal agents out there that are really good retail. They are I would have them help my parents find a house. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these people are phenomenal. But anything like creative, as far as creative financing or off market stuff. It's just not in their bag. It's just not their thing to do. And that's okay, right? So you don't want to waste their time or your time on those type of agents. Uh, so there's certain things you need to make sure you're communicating with the agent and to qualify the agents beforehand, right? You want to interview large numbers of agents as well to get the right agent for you, right? And here's some questions I would ask if I'm going through and I'm going to talk to some agents. This is some questions. Again, remember, you're the prize. So I would ask them, one, have they invested in real estate themselves? And when was the last time they did a flip? If they have done a flip, how many flips have they done? What was the outcome of those flips? So whatever you're doing, if you're looking for rentals, if you're looking for flips, looking for wholesaling, whatever, you are asking if they've done those things. Because I tell you what, agents, and I'm sure there's some agents here listening and they can vouch for me on this one, but a lot of people sign up to be an agent because they actually think it's the pathway to get into real estate investing. As an agent, you really learn nothing about investing. Zero. There's nothing in their schooling that has anything to do with actual investing, breaking down all the costs. Now, some brokerage may have some extra training, things like that, but it really does nothing. It gives you everything they need to know to do a retail sale, and that's it. That's all it is. Okay? Nothing against that. That's fine. We need those type of people in there. That's great. So you have to understand that not all agents understand or know what even they're going to say they know, or they may have an understanding, but not really good understanding. So when you're trying to like negotiate too with deals or whatnot, and you're trying to be creative financing with certain things, if they don't understand the benefit and how it's going to help their clients, it's going to be really hard to convince them to get those seller financing deals. They need to have done them themselves too. They need to have done those flips. And so I've seen so many times where like, oh yeah, you can make $30,000 on this. Like, well, what do you mean? The after repair value is 300 and you're trying to sell it to me at 270. That doesn't even pay for closing. That doesn't pay for closing costs or holding costs. And they're like, oh yeah, I guess you wouldn't make any money. Yeah, it's right. And you don't know what you don't know. And that's the whole point of getting a qualified agent. So have they invested? What they invested in? When was the last time they done it? When was the last time they actually invested in real estate? Do they like investing in real estate? If they're doing it, if they've done it like 3 flips in the last like 2 years and they hated it, well, I mean that's going to give you your idea the lens that they are going to be talking to about their clients about flips, and it's just good to know that like what's their take on it, and then so you understand their lens that they're seeing from. If they like to work with investors, or have they worked with investors, one, and do they like to work with investors? There's a lot of agents out there that really, and for good cause, hate working with investors. When you really look into it, because especially wholesalers in general, and if you're going to wholesale, say, hey, have you worked with wholesalers before? Do you like working with wholesalers? A lot of them don't, and a lot of their brokers say stay away from wholesalers too, and they're just following oh yeah, well my broker says this, so I'm gonna trust him. Like, okay, I don't blame you for trusting the person that you've obviously built a lot of rapport with, and he does know something what he's talking about, but not about this. So there's a lot of good reasons why agents don't like to work with wholesalers, investors, especially wholesalers. In the YouTube university world, wholesaling is pitched as a great entry way to get into real estate investing, and it is a certain aspects of it, but you get a lot of these guys that just watched a few YouTube videos, and now they're like making offers. I've literally had someone tell me that the person that they got the information from said, "Don't tell the agents that you're a wholesaler." I'm like, man, he's telling you to lie. That's the advice you're getting, is lying to because the agent's gonna have to find out eventually. And that's another thing on here, is to be very transparent in what you're planning to do with the agent. If it comes down to the point like, oh great, get on a contract, you need to sign it. Now you go, oh, by the way, I'm thinking I'm gonna wholesale this thing. Okay, well, maybe you should have told them beforehand, because they have to have different addendums. It may potentially have different contracts. So there's absolutely, I Oh yeah, so Joey's here. Joey's a perfect example about the agents and not being educated in how to invest. He says absolutely nothing about investing when you are an agent. Trading is more like replacing your day job, and he's right. Right, that's most of the training out there as far as real estate agents. So when I hear people like, yeah, I think I'm gonna get my license, I'm gonna start investing. Like, well, I mean, maybe there's certain pros at being an agent and invest, but I don't know if they're worth the juice is worth the squeeze. Um, and I would ask them, oh yeah, have you done a real estate investing, or excuse me, have you done creative financing transactions? How many have you done? You know, so I want them to understand what we're doing. I would also ask them like, how often do you and your brokerage come across distressed properties? So, oh yeah, we actually saw one just the other week. It was great. Yeah, we had an investor go buy it, whatever. So, when you want to ask these questions and they're thinking like, okay, yeah, they do have distressed properties on the regular. They have all this stuff coming in, and like, great. I want to be able to. I'm a cash buyer. I plan to wholesale this stuff, but 80% of the time, anything I get on contract, I'm really able to close on it. Like, be realistic with them, right? And like, I'm ready to close on many properties you can put in front of me. And then if I were to keep them, would you be okay if you listed the property when I was done with the flip too? So you're asking that question. Would it be okay if you would list my properties? Now for them, it's like dollar signs. That's all they're seeing. So if you end up flipping the property, they're like, oh, okay, I'm definitely going to use, and you should use that same agent that found you the deal. I mean, to also list it. There are some camps, some boats where you should negotiate some of the fees. Like, all right, I'm going to send a lot of deals your way. Can you? I don't want it. Can you not charge me the 3%? Can it be, 2% or whatever? If they're going to consistently send you deals and you need to pay them full. I pay them 3%. If they're finding you deals, I'll pay you 3%. Absolutely. And then when I list it, you can charge 3%. Do it. Absolutely 100%. The best way to incentivate is to compensate. 100%. Okay. All right. Any questions so far about working with agents as an investor, as a wholesaler, as a flipper, buy and hold, whatever you're trying to find, right? Any questions about that? And by the way, there's something very important. Do not sign an exclusive agreement with the agent that you're talking to. So exclusive agreement means that during this X period of time, that agent is representing you. So any transaction that you do on or off the market, whether they helped you find it or not, they could sue you and get their 3%. Now, most agents wouldn't do that, but you don't want to leave yourself in that vulnerability state. Now, you can do an exclusive agreement for that particular listing that they gave you. That's totally fine. But you want to do non-exclusive agreements just overall, right? So exclusive for the specific listing, fine, they have them, or like, but not just an exclusive agreement for X period of time. You don't want that at all, right? So that's important to know. All right, any other questions so far, guys? Put in the comments if you've got questions. If this is fire, if this is helping, let me know. One of my favorite ways to get some motivated sellers is finding people that are going through life changes. That's a big thing, right? People that are going through some life changes, whether that's bad luck, whether it's economical stuff, a number of reasons why there could be life changes. So going through the courthouse and pulling some of this data, which we're going to talk about here. By the way, those of you who are listening in Utah, most of my followers here, I'm locally here in Utah, pulling up this data is in Utah, plus with the pulling up the data from the county records and also the courthouse. Some states are really good. They can pull up the county records easily, but then like the courthouse information is really locked up, or it's the reverse, or they're both really locked up, hard to get to. Utah's probably, and I've looked, like we had an app and everything that did the exact same thing, and so I know Utah's probably one of the easiest states to look up this information for free. You just got to go and find it. And I think I have some other videos about how to do that here, like literally locally in Utah. But going to the courthouse and pulling up the case filings every single week. There's new case filings every single week, and you pull them up, and that's like your steady source of leads, like forever leads, for free. By the way, I mean, when you start making money, you pay VA to do it, and you can go through services and pull this up too. Sure, that's fine. But yeah, this is some good stuff. So one is probates. For those of you who don't know, probates are when people pass away, for the most part, name changing, things like that. Some stuff with minors, but the probates we're talking about is probates when someone passes away. So if my heaven forbid, when my parents pass away, now they're going to put their stuff into trust, so that's not going to be too big of an issue. But even if they have a will, when they pass away, the title of their property, the bank accounts, the retirement accounts, the house property is still in the deceased name. So the heirs have to go to court and get permission to get it transferred over to their name or to the executor of the estate, their name, to be able to sell, to do whatever. Otherwise, they can't do anything. They can't sell a property. I can never sell a property in Rick Brenchley's name because I'm not Rick Brenchley. I can have the same last name, but I can never sell that property. I can't. I don't have the rights to do so, even if it is passed down or not. So the probate is the court system to do that, and that can take anywhere from a couple of weeks to years, depending if there's any disputes within the family. So you can go to the courthouse, whether that's physically or just online, pull up all of the probates that has happened in the last week, and just reach out to the heirs. And you're going to look for the executor or the petitioner of the filing, because that's the person that's asking. That's going to be the person that's the executor. So word to the wise, when you're dealing with probate cases, you may end up having to deal with family, and you want to make sure all the decision makers are present when you're giving offers so they can answer their questions, if it's possible, because the telephone back and forth, because maybe the older brother's in charge of it, but the middle child is a stinker, and it just doesn't. He thinks that he deserves more because, I don't know, for reasons. And so sometimes there could be some drama involved. Other times when it's a single heir, and dude, yeah, let's get rid of it. And here's the thing: put yourself in the heir's position. A lot of times they don't want to have to. They have an outdated home. Sometimes it's hoarder, sometimes it's not. But even think of your own grandmother's house. Okay, when was the last time your grandmother updated that kitchen? Even if it's in good condition, right? When was it? When she did redo the roof? When did she do? Did she have cats? Because I guarantee there's some issues there, right? There's all of those things. So even though the bones are good, it still needs some rehab. It still needs some help. And so the heirs are at the point where they can either fix it up themselves, find an agent, deal with the paying the commissions of the agent, or it's just hey man, I can make you an offer, and then in 2 weeks you can have money in hand. Would that be something you and your brother would be interested in? So bam, oh yeah, great, awesome. They understand they're selling at a discount. They get that. But people will trade peace of mind, or people will trade equity for peace of mind. That's huge. That's huge. People will trade that every single day. It makes sense for them. It's the same thing with insurance. We pay insurance. It gives you peace of mind. Because 9 times out of 10, you don't never have to use that insurance. Ever. But it gives you some peace of mind, right? Okay. It's the same thing with selling properties at discount. If you'd rather not deal with the crap, and this is just another car dealerships. Who here has sold a property, or excuse me, sold a property, did a trade-in on your car at a dealership? Put in the chats if you have actually did a trade-in with your vehicle at a dealership. My guess is most, if not all of you, have done something like that. But my question is, why would you do that? Why would you do that? This is not it's not hidden information. You can just put it on KSL, you can put it on Facebook Marketplace and actually get face value, because when they do trade in, they don't trade in the full value, because they want to resell it, they want to make money, right? And so why would you do that? Why would you do a trade in on a car when you know you're getting top dollar? Or maybe it's convenient. You don't want to go through the hassle of finding a buyer, negotiating, having them come and go with them to drive around. Sometimes I just want a new car. Yeah, if I trade this one in, I know I'm not getting market value, because they say it right there, like, you're going to get 80% of blue book value or whatever it is, right? And I know I can sell it for more, but convenience. So you're trading the equity of your car for peace of mind, for convenience. People do the same thing with homes. Okay, that's how you get massive discounted properties, by finding these things for these people, and okay, I am just, oh, that's awesome. I am checking out. Okay, you do polls. I just threw in a poll in there, guys. So make sure to put a little answer. That'd be Q. Okay. Anyways, back to, I get distracted easily. Anyways, so probates, phenomenal ways to do it. You can look up and just reach out to those heirs. Have a telephone conversation. Tax liens are, and it's interesting in Utah. Utah is a little bit different. Again, tax liens are all over, right? But Utah has a little bit different tax liens than most states. They don't put a tax lien on the property until like 5 years plus that they haven't paid taxes. And other states is like they're putting a tax lien on like the you're 90 days late, tax lien. So Utah is very, very lenient as far as putting liens on the property for taxes. Now, but they still do it, right? It just means that it's been 5 years or so since they paid their taxes, right? Now, here's the thing. Tax liens are still a really good lead source. One, there's a couple things you just for them being on that list, it gives you a couple different information. One, the house is probably free and clear, or at least they don't have a mortgage on it. Because if they had a mortgage on it, what's part of the payments and you pay to escrow is taxes. That's one of because the mortgage company, they force you to pay it as part of the payment because they don't want you to not pay taxes and have the government take over the property, because the government tax liens is above first position. So the tax liens will get paid before that first position loan will happen. So yeah, that's why all the mortgage companies make sure that they have an escrow and they pay the taxes for you, or force you to pay the taxes as part of the payment. So if there's a tax lien, that means that's been, especially in Utah, it's been 5 years, and the property is probably free and clear of mortgages. They may have other liens on it, but as mortgages, nothing, right? So that gives you, and that opens optionality, because one, there's more wiggle room as far as equity goes, right? Because they may have 100% equity there, and also it's a great opportunity to do some actual traditional seller financing, because there's no mortgage, no wraparounds you have to worry about. There's no subject to, nothing like that. It's just like, great, let's just do a straight up seller financing. Here's your down payment. Here's the interest rate. And I'm going to take care of this tax challenge you're having, right? Tax liens are phenomenal. Any questions so far I'm talking about? I jumped out of probates going into tax liens. I'm trying to get liquid or quick speed in here. One is, this next one is one of my favorite, and this is probably the least used mode of finding deals that I know of. Evictions. Evictions is a phenomenal way of finding deals. Not just one deal, but like multiple deals from one contact. Multiple deals from one contact. This is it. So evictions is like, well, why would I want to talk to evictions? Like, the person just got evicted, right? Yeah, but we're talking to the landlord. The landlord is just evicted someone. And those who've either been part of eviction, whether they're evicting or evicted, the process sucks for everybody. It sucks for everybody, right? It absolutely sucks. It's usually long. It's expensive. And there are some people that like this is what they do professionally, almost like they just like go place to place and they pay the first deposit and they just drag things out. They know how to play the game to get the most out of the landlord. And so when they're going through this, like, this has been a whole nightmare. And those of you who have already gone through this, as far as landlords go, when you evict someone, how nice do they usually leave your property? In great condition? Do they leave it in great condition? No. Like 9 times out of 10, it's terrible. Like, even if they just got into it and they're out like 3 months later, usually, and again, sometimes people get evicted because of bad luck. There's a whole lot of circumstances, right? Maybe they lost their job and they just really couldn't afford it. But 9 times out of 10, most of those people, it's not their first rodeo. It's not their first eviction. Okay. So they leave the place trashed. And, and so now you have these landlords that are in kind of a transition state. And by the way, because you can see who's evicting, who's petitioning for the evictor, that's who you're talking to. A lot of it will be LLCs, it'll be property management companies. I look for the individual names. So John Smith, John Doe, Jane Doe is evicting Billy Bob Thornton. Blah, 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 right? So that tells me a couple things. One, when they own their property in their own name and they're doing business in their own name, they're probably novice investors. They're probably managing it themselves. And if they're managing it themselves, it's a headache to do this, and especially after they got through an eviction. It's like, and this is maybe this is like a house that they lived in, and then they just kept it and then bought a new one and moved out, and then they're trying to house hack, and they just don't really have, they don't know what you don't know, and that's okay, and like nothing against them at all. And so they're in the state where it's like, man, I can either fix it up, try to find a good tenant this time, or I can fix it up and sell it. But as far as us as investors, we can reach out to these guys and gals, and just start talking to them about the process. I have a buddy of mine too, with my suggestion. He actually would go to and I told him this is what I did, and so he did it too. So shout out to Scott if you're listening. But you go to the actual eviction. You can go to your courthouse and literally go to the eviction hearings. You can go there. It's a public hearing, so you can go and listen and watch and do everything. So you can actually hear the stories, see the frustrations, and so you'd be surprised of how many connections you get just on the courthouse steps of like, and you don't necessarily want to kind of like chase them down, like kind of, but it's just like as they're passing by, like, oh man, I saw what happened in there. Like that sucked, dude. The guy was such a jerk to you. I mean, but you handled it great. You give him a compliment, right? Oh man, you handled that so well, and then you're sympathizing and comment, whatever. I don't think it matters the order, but it kind of stops them and have a conversation. And you could just be talking about like, oh man, so this, I'm going to go a little more details in this, but that must have sucked what happened. That guy, he was a complete jerk. I can't believe he did that to you. Like, oh yeah, man, it sucked. And so you start asking questions like, what's going to happen? What are you going to do with the property now? I mean, he must have left it in good condition at least, right? Because you're the pendulum. If they say it is true, if I say it is wrong. So if I'm saying must be in a good position, they're gonna be like, oh no, it was terrible. They did this, this, and this. Because if I say, oh, I bet it was terrible too. Like, well, it wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? So that's why you're on the opposite end of what you want them to emphasis on. Like, oh yeah, they must have left it in pretty good condition at least, I bet. Like, oh no. So you can always, another thing too in negotiating or just having conversations is presume wrong, and they'll correct you. That's the same thing as a pendulum effect, but it's you're presuming something and they'll correct you. Okay. Yeah. I bet they probably left it in great condition, huh? No, they didn't. It was terrible. They did. Oh man, geez. Well, how much is that going to cost you to fix it up? Oh, well, it cost me. So they're saying the price. Oh, it's X, Y, and Z. Like, oh man. And then that'll probably take you like a couple weeks. Like, oh no, man, that'll take me like 4 months. Oh yeah, probably. I bet. Yeah. Now you're saying that makes sense. And so we're just talking about like stuff, what it's going to cost to fix it up, and the cost of or the time frame, and like, oh, but you still have a mortgage on it, right? Oh, so like it's going to take you a while to kind of fix it up. You still have to make those payments, or you don't have a mortgage yet, or and so then like, oh yeah, you got a mortgage. Oh man, so what? You're probably paying what, $2,000 a month? I'm assuming something, right? They'll correct me. You're paying $2,000 a month, so you're be spending in, and you can just do quick cowboy math right then and there, and like, dude, you're gonna be spending like $60,000 just to get another renter in there. How long is it gonna take you for the rents to actually come in and actually? I don't spend a lot of time in evictions, but this is some gold stuff here. How much time do you think would take you, or how much you have to spending $60,000 just to fix up the property, making mortgage payments just to get another renter in there? Oh. Like, oh yeah, I know. I mean, what are you gonna do? Oh, I don't know, man. Like, so why did you even get the property to begin with? Well, I wanted cash flow. Like, oh, okay, but when they were paying rent, you were getting cash flow. Like, well, yeah. Hmm. You know, this is weird, and I know we're just kind of met here chatting, but if if I was able to get a situation where you're able to get the cash flow without having the headaches of worrying about any and without worrying about if the property is full or vacant and the condition of the property, that would interest you, would it? Well, what do you mean? And so that's when you go into creative financing conversation. So it's like, yeah, I can buy your property per se, and then I can start making payments to you. That way you're getting interest and then the cash flow, and you don't have to worry about, whether if the tenant's in there, if I have to evict them, that's my headache. That's not yours. So you're taking on someone's headache. So evictions are it's really easy to transition that conversation into a creative financing conversation with even, well, if any of it really can, right? Uh, love it, love it. Evictions are great, guys. Do not overlook evictions. Like, trust me. Any questions so far? I know it has vomited so much information, and there's not. Be active in the chat, guys. Come on, give me some questions. And even if you're watching the replay on this, guys, make sure to put in there that, hey, you put in your questions too. We can answer it later. You can shoot me DMs. We can definitely get this going for y'all. So we're killing this thing. Okay. All right. Right. Next, I'm actually looking to share this on my personal page, but I'll get that here in a second, I suppose. Okay. Perfect. Next with divorces. Divorces are phenomenal. Great way to do it. Now, just because someone's getting divorced doesn't mean they own property. So you'd have to kind of double check that the address is actually that they own it. Because here's the thing, divorces, when people are getting divorced, it's usually, well, it's obviously not for it's rarely a pleasant experience, from what I'm told. Hopefully, cross some fingers, I never have to experience that. And so a lot of times sometimes they're living in the same house, and they need to get out, right? They need, 9 times out of 10, the equity is split 50-50, right? Usually that's kind of court appointed. They're going to split it 50-50, whatever is sold. And here's the thing, there's something I call spite money. It's where he doesn't want her to get any money, and she doesn't want him to get any money. And so they're willing to sell it for less, even though it's hurting them, because they're not going to get as much equity, just to hurt the other person. So for spite, like, yeah, I'm going to sell it just for a cost. I've had that happen many times. So it's like, I don't necessarily approve of that, but I mean, I'm more than happy to oblige. If you want to sell me the house at a major discount, because he's okay, great. Let's make this happen, right? And so yeah, it's unfortunate when people kind of get divorces in general, but even if it's not spite money, they're willing to sell it quickly. Like, even if it's not the spite thing altogether, but when you're getting divorced and you just want to get out of the situation, a lot of times they're waiting for the sale of the property so they can move on with their lives. They can get another place. They can put the money. There's a lot of things that they're waiting on, and selling that property quickly without dealing with an agent, without dealing with the other person, less time, the better. Now and this is the same with probates and divorces. Sometimes you get all likes of people, all walks of life. And so you'll get the other spouse just being difficult just to be a dick. They just want to stick one last thing in there. Oh yeah, we'll sign it, and then they don't sign it, and then they do. Oh well, I want to, and they just start. So yeah, there's some negotiating tactics to kind of get past that, but just beware that may happen. Just make sure everything's signed, and try to have them both there, or at least have communication with them both, so that it's not like telephone from someone that they're potentially hate more than anyone else on the entire planet. Okay. Foreclosures. That is like, I personally don't do a ton of foreclosure properties. I don't work on the list very often, at least not anymore. However, foreclosures are on the rise. So there's, in my experience, the foreclosures are on the rise. I'm getting the list, and they're higher and higher. So there's something called notice of default, which you can just get at the uh, any title company can get you a notice of default list, right? By the way, make sure that you're offering something for them. Whenever you're talking to, we'll talk a little bit further. Hopefully, we have time. But anything you're offering for them to, if you're offering some, back up. If you're asking something from someone, especially in this professional field, you need to be communicating it in a way where it's 100% about them and what and how that benefits them. So if I'm talking to a title company trying to get the notice of default list and have them send it to me every single, because they usually have like a mailing list for the most part. I want to be out of that list. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I'm a newer real estate investor, or I'm a seasoned real estate investor. My goal is to do one or two deals a month, and I would love for this title company to be my hub. I want to do all my deals through here, and if you do end up sending me some of those notice of defaults, I would guarantee any deal that I do from that list, I'm definitely coming to your title company so that we can work together and start this great relationship. So now great. Now they're going to get their commissions, they're going to get their fees because you're going to go through them, not because like, hey, I'm an investor, I need this, I need that because I want, just send me the list. No, they don't have to send you anything. You are what's in it for them. Okay. And that's true for like anything, even with sellers. What's in it for them? I want to make you an offer because I want to make some money. No. What's your headache? What's your challenge? I don't necessarily ask those particular questions, but you find out what those are. Like, oh, great, this offer will fix this headache and get you the thing you need. That's the trick. That's the magic. Okay, divorces. You just look it up. It's courthouse records, bankruptcies, foreclosures. Oh yeah, sorry, I was on foreclosures, wasn't I? Now, I'm not saying don't go to foreclosures. They're going up, so there's more to it. Foreclosures, I think, because it's a very much again, it's like wholesaling. YouTube University Bros, anyone that does a small course online, that's their number 2 go-to. Hey, go look up foreclosures. Go look up foreclosures. You got everyone making these phone calls on foreclosures, and so by the time I'm talking to someone, they're probably like the fifth person. I'm the fifth person that called them that day. Especially when those defaults first come out. So I usually tend to either, when I am working the list, is call them as they're getting closer and closer to the auction date, or I'll look up auctions like that. You can look up like the auction dates, like when they're happening. Look at where your county happens. You can look it up, and then you can start contacting the sellers before the auction actually happens. And so that's when like they didn't fix it with a bank. They couldn't make up those few payments. They got to fix it now, otherwise they're going to lose everything, right? So definitely that foreclosure is still a good way to do it. Absolutely. So don't let me just deter you from that. Another great one, which is one I don't really see anyone doing really, is meth condemned properties. Meth is a great way to make money in real estate. Meth condemned properties is properties that the city has condemned because it's been test positive for meth. So literally no one has the legal right to live there until that is resolved. And once you get on that list, the health department's list of meth condemned properties, it's very hard to get off. You got to have, they have to come in, they have to go through and scan it off, and then they have to check it. If it's, they make sure it's not an easy process for whatever reason. So a lot of people can get in some headaches if their property did hit the condemned part, right? Perfect. So the meth condemned properties, you can just literally go into the health department, go into violations. I have a whole video on this. Maybe we can go, and maybe some other time I can actually just do it online and share my screen and have you guys see it. But you can just go into the condemned properties, go to meth condemned, and you can just download the Excel sheet of all the condemned properties in the county. Ta-da! Done. Now you have this list of condemned properties. I'll say when it was condemned, when was the last contact, and all the information. Sometimes they'll even have phone numbers for the seller or for the owner too. I've seen it. So yeah, condemned is phenomenal because they're, and a lot of these people, when it comes down to it, like maybe it's an old house that they had that deadbeat kid was living in it, or their deadbeat uncle or whatever, and they were smoking meth in it, and now their house at their family home is now condemned because of this stupid uncle or whatever, right? Or family member or themselves sometimes. So now that's like a huge headache. They don't know how to. It's not a cheap process to decontaminate, to remediate the meth condemned property. By the way, at least here in Utah, once you remediate it, so if I buy a property that is meth condemned or meth positive, I can remediate it. So make sure it's no longer test positive for meth. It's under a reasonable, safe amount. I don't have to disclose that it was a meth property on my listing when they. I mean, sure, if it comes up, yeah, I say yeah, but we were able to fix it. Here's all the evidence that we were able to fix it. We got through. Here's the test that we did. Feel free to do your own. So yes, don't be afraid of buying meth condemned, but there's some cost to it. Make sure you understand what those costs are, what the risks are before you buy anything. Okay. And by the way, I'm not licensed anything while I go into it. I'm not licensed anything. So I'm just a guy that knows a few things. I was a licensed agent for a minute, but that was just to list my own properties. But I've been investing for 7+ years now, and yeah, well, I guess almost 7 years now. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Okay, all right, meth condemned properties, phenomenal. Okay, one thing you all have seen is bandit signs. So bandit signs are those cards, those signs on the side of the road that says "We buy houses." Guess what? They work. So bandit signs is a great way to find off market deals. People will call, and here's the thing: anyone that puts out bandit signs and said it doesn't work, either they one didn't put out enough, or they weren't like re-putting them out. So it like it's with any type of advertising, it usually takes, I think, done studies, and I think that it's probably more now, but it takes at least 7 exposures for someone to act upon any type of ad. Those bandit signs are no different. So the first time they see a bandit sign, it's like, oh, scam, drive on. The second time, like, oh, that's still up there, and then it's like, and then they start getting curious, like, it's still up there. Maybe there's something to it. Like, I do need to sell my house. Maybe I'll call them to see what they can offer. So you'll be surprised about the amount you'll get. And the thing is, like, you need to have some quick tips on bandit signs. You want to do like 150 plus signs in an area. You want to make sure you're doing it safe. Make sure you're following the laws, because there's a lot of ordinances that say they don't allow bandit signs, and you can be fined. So make sure you're checking with the city ordinances. They'll have an ordinance on bandit signs specifically. Okay. You want to put it and make sure you have a buddy system when you're putting it out there. I did mine when I was probably like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, when there's less cars, less traffic, less people to say, hey, what are you doing? So, and don't put it in people's yards, right? I mean, there's a strategy of doing that specifically, but we won't go into that one. But don't put it in people's yards, like you're putting in like public areas or business owned places, things like that, places where there's a lot of traffic, and not just traffic, but when there's stop traffic. So stop signs, stop lights, 4-way intersections, those kind of things, right? And you want to put a ton out. And I'd recommend, if you're investing within your neighborhood, I would make sure you kind of put it in a pathway which we normally travel. And so I would have a couple bandit signs in my trunk, and as I passed by, that one was pulled out. It was wind got it, someone pulled it off, whatever. It's like I can just pull over real quick, drop a new one, and go on, move on with my life. So you can keep it up, and so that way, because sometimes you'll put bandit signs up and like get no calls for days, for weeks, and then suddenly it takes some time for bandit signs to kick in. Okay, for people to start calling. Who here in the chat has actually done bandit signs before? I'm just curious. Okay, so Avery says only find Salt Lake County when you search. When you search what? The health department or what are you looking for, Avery? Yeah, who here have done bandit signs before? Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to get this done soonish. So we're gonna. I go on too many tangents, man. I need like 20 hours. Okay, for meth houses. Yeah, so the health departments. So wherever the health department, that's usually where that's at. So Salt Lake County is pretty easy to get to pull that information up, but anywhere that any health department, that's where they're going to be. Okay, well, some counties, cities may be a little bit different, but that's where, for the most part, where I've been able to find them. And if you can't find it in a certain county, so for example, if it's in like Salt Lake County or whatever, or not in Salt Lake County, if it's in St. George or something like that, and you just can't find it, call the health department. Ask them. Ask someone like, hey, I'm actually trying to find the meth condemned properties. Where I know it's public information. Where would I go to get that? And they may, oh, I'm not sure. Let me ask. Okay, great. And they'll tell you. Like, we're paying taxes, and so yeah, let them do the work. I pay a lot of money in property taxes. Yeah, I'm more than happy to put them to work. It's no problem. And they're, for the most part, they're very helpful from my personal experience. So if you're having a hard time finding that, just actually contact the health department in the county or city that you're looking for. Okay, great. I'm glad. That's a good question, though. I'm glad you asked that. Okay, so with another way of doing this, or another way for off-market properties is warm market. So becoming a local expert, whether you're starting out or not, that's still able to do some stuff. So, being the warm market and kind of local expert, that's kind of when you start getting some momentum behind you. Typically, right? When you're getting some experiences, kind of more down the line for some of you, but for a lot of you, it's like, yeah, this is exactly where I'm at. Yeah, I've done multiple deals. I'm starting to go. So, becoming a local expert, right? Is here's the thing: if people don't know you're investing in real estate, it's your fault. It's no one's fault but your own. I had people, especially when I first started out, they sold. One family in particular, I grew up with them. Their son is my best friend still. So my best friend's parents, while I was investing in real estate, they sold their house to an investor a lot lower price than I would have gave them too. And it was kind of a bad experience for them, to be honest. And so, but they never called me. They never had a single phone call to me. Now they knew me when I was younger, so maybe that could be why too. But still, you know what I mean? They just didn't know. They honestly didn't know that I was a real estate investor. They didn't know that I could offer them more than with this guy, and I would have saved them so much headaches and from what they actually got. You know, because they know me, they trust me. I'm not going to screw them over. So if people don't know that you're in real estate, that's your own damn fault, and you are going to miss opportunities because you're like, oh, I don't want to post, I don't want to do this, I don't want to talk. Okay, well then you're not going to make as much money, and that's okay. If it's something just you're against, that's okay. Then don't post anything about it. That's okay. But don't be upset or frustrated when you see that your cousin was selling his house, and you could have gave him a killer deal, but he never reached out to you because he didn't know what you were doing. And you have to be front of mind too. So it's not just one-time post. Well, a year ago I posted I was doing it. They should have read it. Well, no, they're not going to know. You got to be consistent now. You be front of mind. So posting about it, social media is helpful, right? Posting testimonials. When you do start doing it, ask for testimonials every single time. Post it. Throw it there. Hey, another happy person who I worked with. Wait, real estate agent, not real estate agent. I bought this person's house. They needed to sell for X, Y, and Z. And I was able to sell it. We were able to keep we did the subject to. It was phenomenal. How was your experience? Oh, it was great. You're so helpful, blah, 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 blah. And like, oh, wow. Not only are you doing it, you're being successful at it. And here's this person saying how awesome you were. You know, put in there. Social media. I mean, a decent rule of thumb. I am very much on not this balance to say, but social media, like 130 posts should be about real estate, at least. Most of my posts are about real estate, but that's just me. But for someone starting out, and it could be like, oh, hey, maybe you haven't done any deals yet, but you still want to let people know that you are in real estate. So just document what you're doing. Like selfie, like in front of a house. Hey, I'm looking at I'm with my agent. We're going to look at this property. What do you guys think? Should I keep it? And so you start building interaction. Like, oh, wow, they're doing, even if you haven't closed the deal, you can still do this. You can still build intrigue. You can still be out there and let people see what you're doing. And that way, then you'll have that warm market. When people call me and say, hey, Jared, can you buy my house? Easiest conversation to have. Yeah, well, potentially. Let's talk about it. Let's see what happens. You know, it's a complete different, like all the you don't have to do all the negotiation, linguistic gymnastics just to get past their walls because they already know and love and trust you. They're like, this is my situation where I'm at. What can you do, man? You know that it's so much easier playing hard mode if you're not doing this. Jump on podcasts. You know, again, this is for momentum, right? Jump on a podcast. Become a podcast host. You can, even if you haven't done anything, you can start a podcast and you have shared credibility at this point. There's plenty of people that want to be on podcasts. So it's like, even if you haven't had a single release first episode, you can bring on someone to interview that's done 1,000 deals, and suddenly, guess what? It's shared credibility. So now you're trusted as they are. You're even though you haven't done any deals yet, like, oh wow, Jared's talking to this dude that's done 1,000 deals. That's awesome. So there's some shared credibility. You're not saying like, oh yeah, I did 1,000 too. You're not saying that, but it's subconscious things happen when you're talking, you're communicating, and so when they are ready to sell, when they do have an opportunity they need help with, they're going to call you. Okay. And it doesn't have to be a ton of time you're going to put into it. None of that stuff too. I need a podcast. Okay. Yeah. Kevin says I need a podcast with all the info I got, my friend. Oh, I appreciate that. I do have a podcast. Oh, I did have a podcast. We had about 30 some odd episodes. I did with a friend of mine, Jana. And yeah, it just, at the time, I honestly just, cause I put more effort into it than I could have. Like, the podcast should be like these lives, what I'm doing. That's what my podcast should be. I should start that back up again, or just start putting what I'm doing right now on podcasts. Okay. But I appreciate that, Kevin. Thanks, man. Phenomenal. Okay. Another way to find some deals is provide value. There are a lot of people that are in the YouTube University world and they just don't know what they're doing. And that's okay. You know, you don't know what you don't know. And so and again, this section, again, when you have a little bit of traction behind you, you're going into forums, you're providing value. Again, remember I said earlier, it's not about what's in it for you, what's in it for them. And guess what? You'll get what you want to. It's not rocket science. So if someone's having a challenge with some X, Y, and Z, and they post about it, like, oh, hey, by the way, I'll do this, this, and this. And then suddenly you become like a kind of an expert in the community in whatever, in a Facebook group, in that, you know, maybe you're going to the RIAs, maybe you're going to the events that we put on, all that stuff. And then you're putting so much value out there that people are like, they want to do joint ventures with you. And so they start doing joint ventures with you. And then you're getting more and more deals. I'm getting a ton of deals myself just by doing this, by helping other people. Like I literally, before this phone call, I was just on a phone call of this lady. She just needed help close. Like she found this really good lead, and she just needed help closing it down, taking it to the finish line. She's just, and she told me, like, once I do this a couple times, I know I'm not gonna need your help anymore. Like, okay, great. Awesome. Yeah. One proud dad here, you know, in that scenario. So I was like, yeah, that's great. Like, great. Let's do 5 together and just you do your own thing. But I didn't have to go find the deal. It came to me. And you do the fun part. So I like that a lot. Okay. We are almost out of time. So, there are a lot more. I didn't get to all 20. In a nutshell, we'll have to do maybe a part 2. We'll have to do a part 2 on this. So Ken asks, who sets up my trust? I'll sidebar that one for you, Ken. I'll DM you. So we'll definitely get through all of it. I think I'm gonna have to do part 2 because I didn't get through all the stuff that there is. There's driving for dollars, which is huge. There's ways of like paying people on commission doing driving for dollars. So this is how you're doing stuff without using your own money. Like talking to people that are out and about, like mailmen, Uber drivers. Say, hey man, do you come across distressed properties look like X, Y, and Z? And you explain what it is, and like, oh, well, yeah, all the time. Like, hey, if you tell me the address and I actually buy it, I'll pay you $2,000. That'll get people's attention. $3,000, whatever. I'll pay $5,000 to make 10, infinite number of times. Happily. Even if it's a wholesale, I'm just gonna make 10,000. I'm paying this guy 5, paying him 2, paying him 3, whatever. Okay, that's the deal I didn't have before. It's either I pay him that little fee, or I get 0. What is that really is that the no-brainer? If you're having a hard time with that, maybe just reassess your mindset as far as limited mindset and abundance mindset. Okay. or scarcity mindset and abundance mindset. 100%. Put it out there. And then if they don't bring any deals that you close on, you don't pay them anything. You just have you can have an army of people. And I talk about it in my book that I'm currently writing. You can do in more detail how to structure it and how to do it. But you can have an army of people of I call minions, because it's fun. Army of minions finding new deals. And it's a win-win. You're not taking advantage because they're, whether in real estate or not, like they're doing it for a reason. They want the money. They want the experience. Whatever it is, you're providing value for them. And then guess what? Value comes back. So yeah, you can have a ton of minions just going out there, or people that are naturally out there driving around, mailmen, Uber drivers, people like that. Think of the industry. Put an industry that you think would be great, that would naturally drive around. That would naturally be a good one. Home Depot guys are great too, because Home Depot guys and gals, Lowe's employees, whatever, they see those Saturday warriors trying to do a flip on their own, and they're back and forth like 20 times a day, and think they're probably had it after like the month in or 2 months in. And so that Home Depot guy gives you this guy your number, and he calls you, hey, John from Home Depot gave me a call, or told me to give you the call. And like, yeah, I'm doing this flip. It's way more expensive than I thought. I'm trying to do the work myself to save money. And this happens a ton. And sadly enough, if the deal will only work if you're doing the work yourself, it's not a deal. I'm sorry. I mean, sure, it breaks my heart. But people do that all the time. It's just not, you can be lucky and make money, but you just bought yourself a job. You're not flipping. You just bought a job. I don't know. But that's maybe it's controversial. I don't know. What's the gift? Oh yes, I was about to get to that. So those of you that hanged on, let me pull this up here. So the gift I'm going to give you guys is a preview, a sneak peek. A sneak peek, I say. I'm going to put it in the chat. Ah, what the frick? Hang on. Oh. So the last word in this link had a home in it, and then it tried to tag some home by Haley. Hey, come on, girls. You need to be. That's not, I don't like that. Okay. Anyways, here we are. Okay, so I put a link in there right now. If you guys want to go on the link, you can just put your information in there, and then you will get a digital copy of my first 3 chapters. Not first 3, I think it's like middle 3 chapters on real estate cheat codes, the cheater's guide to massively discounted deals. It goes over some stuff and some in detail stuff as far as how to find off-market properties. So it's a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys find value in that. If you have, let me know. Tell me what you liked about it. It's not done. Just FYI, it's a sneak peek. So the grammar is probably not great, nor spelling, but that's okay. That's just, I'm paying someone to fix that right now, so it's okay. But for right now, you guys are getting a sneak peek of these 3 chapters in my book. So yeah, awesome. So great, guys. I appreciate all of the interaction. I think this is fun stuff. I love. Let's see here. What's your? Oh yeah, ask that. Yep. Going through any other questions before we call it quits, because there's probably we still have like another 10 more items that as far as finding off market deals that I wanted to talk about today, but I got to remember, I like to go on tangents and sometimes go in a ton of detail over things when I probably should just be bullet pointing it. But we can do a part 2. We can do part 2. Also put in the chats, what are things that you would like to know or learn about, or what are things that are holding you back from getting to your next creative financing deal, or just deal in general? Put in the comments right now what's holding you back, and then we can talk about it, whether that's offline or we'll do another live about that specific thing. We can go over all that stuff. So I'm excited to help and to work with everybody. If you guys are looking to can't open copy, setting up. No. Did you, Kat, are you able to open the link? Can't open nor copy. Well then. Let me let me try to repeat. Let me see if I get, hang on one moment. Let's see if you can't get a copy of that. We'll work it out. So I'll put it in there eventually. Let me see. Where's the darn thing? Oh, there's this. Here we go. Okay. Let's try this. Oh, hang on. I know what it is. Hang on, guys. Sorry. I apologize. I can copy it on my desktop. Dang it, it's not letting me copy. Okay, I think I know what's going on. Let me just. There's a website that should be. Public sites. Come on, bugger. Maybe just DM me. DM me what, and I can just send a straight up DM. Should be copies. Oh, okay. I think that last one worked. Maybe the last one could have probably worked. I think we're good. Okay. Cool, guys. Yeah, check that last one. I think that last one worked. Okay, perfect. So put in the comments what other things you like to talk about. Let's figure this out. And if you guys have a deal where you're looking to, you need help with, like you have a seller, but maybe it'd be a great seller financing deal. And man, I need to see someone negotiate that deal. Let's do a joint venture. Get me on the phone with them. You can see. Am I all talk? Let's find out. Let's do a joint venture. Let's close them. Let's get creative financing. And we do as many deals together as you want. So another thing too, if you're looking at more information, there's a link either in my bio and also pinned to the top of the chat where you can book a 9-minute conversation with me. So book a call. We have conversations. See if it makes sense for us to work together. It may work. Maybe it may work. You don't have to know words to make money, people. Trust me. It may be great for you, may not be, and that's okay. But yep, awesome, guys. I love you all. I appreciate your help, and I'm out. See you guys.